Alright, let's try to get in here. I don't think we're going to set a quali lap, because we were supposed to jump in and do quali real quick. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. It's okay though. Let's see. Fuck. I did not want this. I don't want to lose this remote. Will you put it back? Oh, let's see. What's going on, everybody? Let's double check these mics. Alright. Let's plug up our phone. Got a little protein shake going, so we got that going for us. Alright, let's get in here. Let's do some, let's get some quali in, man. You change your handle. Gray Beard Ken. What's going on, Gray Beard Ken? How you doing, Ken? Let's get into this. So we're gonna do some arrive and drive. Just some PCA. Every Tuesday they do that. Oh, you added a picture too, Ken? Alright, let's try to keep it kosher with everybody. Three minutes to set a lap. Yeah, okay. I actually forgot how to get around this part. I don't do the GP part a lot. It's not my favorite. How you doing tonight, Ken? What's going on? Oh, you know what I do need to bring back? I need to... Alright, well, let me fix this for you guys while we're here. Let's pull this up so you guys can see the relatives. I need to unlock this. Apologize. Let me bring this back so you guys can see what's going on. Let's lock that. And then it appears I might need to reset this. Let's reset the window. No. Minimize that. Bring this over. Sorry about that, guys. Alright, there we go. Let me take that away. So it makes it easy to read. Anyways, let's go. Ooh. What's going on with the name change, kid? Uh-oh. Yeah, we might struggle on the track today, so we'll see. We'll see how we fare. These guys had a... Yeah, I forgot how to get around this. The GP part. I don't do this often. I don't even know how this turn goes. Oh, okay. So we come up on the green. I was hoping to get a lap or two at least here to help me out, but I'm gonna struggle. I'm gonna just try to follow everybody. As a generic name YouTube gave you. Okay, okay. So you're just giving it some life, I see. I appreciate you stopping in. How was your weekend? Anything eventful? Okay, so now we're on the GP part. Okay. I'm gonna lift a little bit because we got cold tires. Yeah, it's one of my favorite too. My girlfriend loves this track too. It's difficult. It took me a while to learn it, but oddly enough, I learned it in the middle of an endurance race. So just like the repetition And it was I think it was my first endurance race, and I was not prepared for it at all. But I learned the map. I learned like mid race. I want to say it was a 2 hour race. It was like a mini endurance race. It wasn't anything crazy. Although I think the 24-hour race is oh shit, cold tires. Idiot, idiot, idiot. I better not do that during the race. Cold tires. Okay, I need to take it easy. I gotta remember that these tires are very cold. Yeah, this is one of my favorite tracks. They've been doing a whole series here with the PCA on Tuesdays. So on Tuesdays they have Arrive and Drive, and anybody can come in and join like all of the racing classes. What's going on, Scott? How you doing? Happy Tuesday. I don't know if I'm supposed to be in the comms. I should probably check that out. See if I can find them in the comms, because how's your Tuesday, Scott? Oof, let's see. Yeah, I have no idea if like damage is on or off. I'm not too versed with the Arrive and Drive stuff. I think I've done it like maybe twice. It's fun, but I have very limited time, and trying to learn new tracks with the uh-oh. Toby Tuesday. Yeah, this thing is I'm gonna have to take it easy just to keep it on track. Oh shit. Yeah, see, I didn't feel comfortable there. Like, I never would take that in first, but that just didn't feel good. Yeah, I'm gonna need to take it easy. First lap, I'm gonna try not to hurt anybody. Try to stay alive. Call it a day. Yeah, I'm a little rusty, so. Oof. I don't know when this race starts, to be honest, but I'm not sure if they're waiting on me to grid or not. I'm just kind of out here soaking up as much track time as I can. Oh, let's see. How's the audio, everybody? Sound good? I've been using a different OBS. Oh shit. Idiot. Idiot, idiot. Oh, you know what I do need? I need to put on my mirror. I need to get that going back. Alright, let's see. Let's exit. I have no idea what kind of setup I'm running. I got nothing. Oops. Let's go to settings. Let's get a graphics. Hands. Where's the virtual mirror? On. I can't see over here. This fucking tablet's in the way of my end qualifying run. Oh wow, there was 8 minutes left in the session. I'm an idiot. I could have just ran that, right? Oh, I'm stupid. Damn it. Unofficial. Oh, it's just 3 laps. 8 minutes. Oh no, I don't want to quit. How long was this? Oh, you didn't hear the car? Ah, I think I know what's going on then. Audio, headphones. No, that should be good. Let's push to talk. Huh. It's weird. Let's see what we got. Main audio levels. Audio options. Let's go to OBS. Let me check.
race against each other too hard as much as we try to race with each other every week. It's up to you guys, but if you're out in front and the guy in the back gets totally dropped off and the guy in the back wants to, just shout out, "Hey, wait for me, I crashed." And whoever wants to will slow down and we'll group back up and we'll head back off. We might put you in the lead of that pack and then chase you around for a while. We don't really care who wins. There's no trophies. It's just smiles on faces and having fun. So shout out if you want us to wait for you and enjoy each other's company and enjoy the track.
Let's see. Let me know if you can hear the car sounds now. I'm gonna go to.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jim.
Oh shit.
Damage is off.
Damage is off. So how do I? Man, why did I jump in my car so early? All right, let's go back. Can you hear the cars now? Yeah, let me know.
I'm going to advance the session here. Briggs, if you're in here, we're about to advance over to the race.
OBS is okay once you get it going, and I would do the free one. Just try it out, play with it. I'm telling you, it was a learning curve, but once you figure it out, it's kind of set, and you can kind of, I don't want to say set it and forget it, but it's for the most part. The problem I had is I kept switching screens. And when you switch like screens, because I went from like a regular TV, like a flat screen, to a curved monitor, so then it ruined all my settings because it picks up like the monitor and like the output, I guess. So for what you guys see like on your phones or tablets or wherever you're watching, it'll kind of like reframe and downsize it, because like if I have a wide screen, you're not gonna be able to see everything that I see. So it has to you have to try to frame it. So for instance, now that I am on triple screens, I had to redo everything again, and you have to align what makes sense for you guys to see. If that makes, it's a learning curve, but it can be easy once you figure it out. And honestly, I would use the OBS, the free one.
The other thing to look at is I just noticed the clock. It is 8 times the speed of sound or whatever that is. So we are going to most likely, maybe it'll get nighttime and go into tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah. Ken, are you on the Discord? If you are, I can probably send you some videos that I used that helped me get set it up, and then that might be helpful. But I mean, I'm not computer savvy, so if I can figure it out, I want to say most people can. So I definitely lean on that. But yeah, once you get it set up, it's pretty good. Issues, just common issues. Sometimes it crashes. Sometimes when you swap cameras or something, it'll crash. So just like any program, it's not perfect, but I would say I would go with the free one, try it out. I ended up going with Streamlabs eventually. It's a paid one because I thought it was very easy to have these plugins. So when you want to have like plugins, you do kind of have to go out of your way and like look for a certain video that'll show you how to have chat on the screen, or sounds like when somebody like subscribes or does like a super chat, things like that. So you'll have to look up little videos, and I was under the impression that Streamlabs was like a plug and play type of thing, but it turned out not to be as great as it was. So that was a waste. Oh shit. Oh my.
No, but there's a couple of guys that I haven't hit ready to race. So.
Okay, sure.
Audio. Master volume device. Headphones. I thought I made this button. Push
Fernando and Thomas, if you're in here, you guys can hit the ready to race button. Zoom ahead.
Yo, why is my mic not working? Can I get a mic check? Why is my mic not working? Huh, that's weird. Better check that out real quick.
We're going to start shit talking everybody on here. I mean,
Darn talking everybody on here.
Can you guys hear me? I think I'm having mic issues.
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, thanks. I don't know why it's not coming out on the game, but odd. Whatever. You can hear me on Discord.
All right. I think we're going to see nighttime.
Yeah, I think so. I think he announced
Just looking for screen capture and voiceover.
Yeah. Sent out or whatever.
Should be easy enough.
Well, don't forget, when you finish the race, don't go to the pits or get out of your car. Just stay there. And once everybody's crossed the finish line, do a U-turn and drive this thing backwards at night. It's a freak show.
Yeah, it'll be perfect for that. If it's like simple.
Rarely does anybody make it all the way back one entire lap before they've trashed their car and they have to quit.
Yeah, I know. I did last week. It was really weird because it's...
It's strange. It's not at all what you're used to. In some of the corners, like, I don't know what's coming up next. Oh, a U-turn. And you're over the wall and into the woods, so you're done.
Are we ready to race? What's the results? Who are we waiting on? Rodney. Am I ready to race? I should be ready to race. Waiting. Yeah, I'm in session. I just didn't quali. These guys are putting, what, 8:11, 8:16, 8:17. There's a big range here. I don't even know. Is there a way you can tell how like your best lap on this track? I wonder if there's a way. Settings. Ooh, I better make sure I have a setup before closing. No. Garage. What are we doing? Official setups? Fixed setups?
Cool. It's good to go.
Alright, let's go. Let's get in here. Let's make it happen, Captain. Yeah, that'll be plenty then, Ken. Wow, I'm in the back. Yeah, you just have to make sure you...
seconds.
Why does it sound like that? It sounds so weird.
Briggs is going to join after the first lap and then beat us all.
Yeah, probably.
With 8 people watching, 2 of them drinking, 1 of them smoking out of a huge hookah.
Talking on the phone, you know,
driving
with his knees and texting.
Oh my God, he's just that guy. I mean, I swear to God, I walked up a staircase with him, and I took the first stair, and then he went, wait, and he took the next stair. Pretty soon we were running. I'm like, how do you do this? He races everywhere. It's so much fun.
All right.
Rolling start. Get ready.
I think maybe someone has their mic open.
Follow Campbell in the right column.
No, that's me, isn't it? That sounds like me. Because that's my,
Race car speed is 52 miles per hour.
Just sounds weird. Sounds really weird. Oh well, let's follow. We'll do our best. Let's have some fun with it. Let's see.
I wonder if we stay back here so long that the pace car just goes, oh, the heck with it.
Get closer to Campbell.
So this guy's, I like that it tells you what class they're in. So that's the challenge class. The guy in front of me, Campbell's in pro class.
Catch up to Campbell.
And then me, I'm in the back. I am in challenge. No, it's club, pro, challenge. So I'm on the bottom of the barrel here. It's all right. I'm making learn a thing or two from these guys. I'm sure I can.
Going on green.
Yeah, I don't know why my button's not working.
Okay, Patrick. Nice and neat. Stay out of trouble. Go, go, go!
That's it. I'm just gonna stay with them, see if we
On
can
your
ride
left.
out.
Clear left, left side. Clear left, left side. Clear left.
Let these
There's an
tires. Oh
incident in
shit!
Yokohama S. We think it might be Krebs.
Well, that went south for them already.
The next car is
we're
Campbell,
slow.
and their
We're waiting
rating
up.
is 2.5. Nice start.
Why does it sound like that? And through the mic like that.
There's an incident in Dunlop Care. Looks like it's Briggs. No story. Car number 005 is now in the lead.
I'm gonna lift a little bit.
Looks like Happy you wound up in the beach.
Increasing. It's now 1.3.
Alright, so I made it up to P5. Not the worst. Oof, off track.
You cut the track. Keep it nice and tidy.
Alright, this is where the fun begins.
Incident in turn 10. It looks like Mark.
All right, hold on.
Let's try to keep the car together. Cold tires, cold tires. Uh-oh. We already got Briggs on our tail. He's a pro. Oh no! Fuck, fuck. Let me let him go. This is what I get for
You cut the track.
living
Keep it
in
nice
my
and tidy.
rearview
Thanks,
mirror.
Patrick.
Idiot.
Sure, I am. Away from Mark.
Car left. Clear left.
Idiot, man. I'm such a dummy. Yeah, it sounds really weird. I don't know if I did something wrong with the audio, but the audio output sounds a little bit off. So he wants to do a little cat and mouse here.
The next car is Brink, and their rating is 2.0.
I don't know if I can catch these dudes like that.
All right, we're getting there.
The gap to Brink ahead is increasing. It's now
There we go.
1.2 seconds.
Yeah, these guys are putting crazy lap times here. I'm just here for the vibes.
All right, we're there.
Yeah. Let me figure out when these tires are gonna heat up. rotate it, get it around.
Good pass.
Wow!
Alright, let's see what we got. So just looking at the relative, these guys are gonna smoke me.
Go.
3.5 is what we're sitting at right now, so let's see. See where we're at here in a little bit. Idiot. What an idiot.
Okay, Patrick.
Holy.
Watch the track limits, please.
I know. Sorry about that. That curb. Fuck.
The gap to E5 ahead is increasing. It's now 1.5.
Okay, so maybe downshifting is ideal there. A little brake. Let's see. All right. I'm trying to learn how to rotate this car around, but I'm losing a lot of momentum here. Fuck.
The gap to E5 ahead is increasing. It's now
yeah, they're
1.8 seconds.
Yeah, I'm slowing down way too much. You know what's gonna be tricky is once that nighttime falls. Jesus. Yeah, once nighttime hits,
Watch those track limits.
I can't even stay on track now, much less later on one night.
Incident in Atlantic Island 2. We think it might be Torres. Yellow flag.
See if I can stay ahead of Taurus long enough for it to matter. So 6.6 in front of Taurus. Let's see. God, those guys are gone though. Oh, I just needed to lift there, not brake. Okay, but these tires do not feel like they're gripping at all. This is the one thing I always get wrong. It's the end of this track when it's a GP. I forget.
Torres is closing you down. The gap has come down to 6.7.
Here comes Taurus. Making gains, baby. Alright, so we'll just send it. Those are pro drivers. Taurus is a pro driver,
Two to
so
go. 2 laps of fuel
I
remaining.
expect him to catch me. Alright, so I'm gonna struggle here. Only because I don't have anybody to kind of navigate with, so Bad entry, bad exit. Yeah, a long ways to catch up.
Torres behind is now 6.2. There's an incident in Yokohama S. It looks like Mark.
Now let's go see.
That was pretty funny.
Okay, 5.2. Taurus is behind me and he's gaining. Let's see. Here we go.
Torres, he's gaining on you. The gap's now 5.4 seconds.
Holy, Taurus is smoking. Alright, let's see if I can hold him off a little bit. The goal is to keep Taurus behind me. I don't know how successful I will be, but that's the goal. Let's try to keep pro driver Taurus behind me. That's it. He's catching me fast too, and he knows it. Here we go. The sky will fall.
Torres, it's getting closer. The gap's come down to
1.0. Nope. Gotta keep it smooth, stay off those curbs. It's the only way you're gonna stay away from old T-Dog. I didn't think I was gonna make that, I ain't gonna lie. Alright, 3.4, 3.3. Let's see if we can run away from him. Let's go.
The gap behind is now 3.5.
Jeez, 3.1, bro. According to this race labs relative. What are we doing? Okay, we're back in the green. Let me see if I... Let's go.
Ooh, saw the twitch. I never get through there clean or quick.
There we go. Jesus. I had to lift. He's catching me. He's covered, man. That shit's... No! There goes my lap. Ah! There goes my fucking lap.
Watch these track limits, please, Patrick.
Jesus, come on, bro. Fuck.
You're reeling turrets in. The gap is 1.2. Car in front is Torres, and their
Jeez.
rating is 2.5.
I wonder if people are lifting there or what. Make that turn.
The leader has just done 8:13.4 seconds.
Oh, wow.
That'll buff right out.
You're there.
Sucks.
The gap in front is now 2.3.
That was a little wild. That was good though. It just won't pass.
P6, white flag, last lap. Okay, Patrick, we're halfway through. Should be about 1 laps of fuel remaining.
I haven't got a successful lap because
Don't forget, Mark. There's a turn at the end of that straight.
Just a couple.
let's see. Oh fuck! I wasn't supposed to stop there. Idiot.
Let's go too wide around the whole lap.
We were brave.
I gotta learn how to push because there's people putting 111s out here. What the hell am I doing?
Stolen in the playground.
No. You gotta be careful with that. Is the 24-hour race, does it include the GP? Like, is it the combined or no?
Ahead is now 1.7.
I wonder.
Nighttime has hit.
Let's see it. There's no way I'm gonna catch that dude. Let's see.
Briggs. Car number 22 is leading the race.
New leader, huh?
I wish there was a button to turn off our headlight.
Yeah, he's not even touchable. I ain't gonna lie, at nighttime it's a bit different. Not a downshift just to make it stick. Oof, missed that apex, but it's alright. Let's see. Dumb. I'm losing a lot of time here.
P5 ahead is now
Alright,
6.5 seconds.
Nah, I'm not in the cup car. I'm in the GT3R.
Next story. Car number 005
I think I have the audio
is now
messed
leading.
up or something. I think I have like dual audio outputs somewhere. Sounds kind of weird. I have to mess with that on I think it's like OBS has it, because first we couldn't hear it at all, now it's odd. Holy shit. Yeah, I think it's audio setting that I may have messed up in the in OBS. It does sound weird. It sounds weird in my headset too. Or maybe that's a problem, because I'm not supposed to be hearing the headset.
Captain Torres ahead is increasing. It's now 9.3.
Fuck, man. Torres smoked that ass. Oh shit. 80 fucking it. There goes my
Just had a
one.
warning for cutting the track.
There goes my one fucking good lap. Went to shit. It just sounds weird. It sounds weird in the headset, which led me to believe that the car, even the audio sounds weird with whatchamacallit.
Briggs. Car number 22 is leading the race.
I can't think of crew chief. Crew chief sounds bad too. I wonder if
Stay
I
between
can.
the lines, please, Patrick.
I have something to do real quick while I let these guys catch up. Even though I'm about to.
Mark picking up parts?
Must be.
Yeah.
Donuts.
I lost something. Chasing the wrong way, didn't I?
Fuck. They're not here?
It's okay, I'm saving fuel, getting ready for tomorrow.
Alright, let me get out of here. It's just the car.
Alright, all out sprint in 3, 2.
Oh shit. Maybe now's not the time to mess with that. Let me see.
Trouble is, he's slowing down, so I lose track of where I am on the track. Then we start going again and going, oh, where am I now?
So let's see. Music.
You gotta remember
Discord,
those boards
Pixel.
at least. Oh, yes, you do.
I don't know. Maybe there? Desktop audio. We need the desktop
No,
audio.
Same
Looks
place.
like it's-
I missed several
Yeah, now you know.
Oh, okay. Does it sound better now? I turned off the desktop audio through the headset, which I think it was looping it. I don't know. It sounds a little bit better to me, but I could be wrong. Oh shit, bro! Where's the track?
Right.
Oh, maybe you didn't.
I got DQ'd for...
We're going backwards.
Going
Oh,
backwards.
geez.
Going the wrong way early.
Yeah, I don't know if it sounds better or not.
But Volker got out. Did you get out,
Oh,
Volker?
fuck.
Let me see if I can find the other gents. Huh. Or maybe you can't jump into another hosted if one's going on right now. I got like 2 minutes if it closes. Let's see. PCA sessions. Huh. M's
How about now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
okay.
Yep.
Let me go down here. Let's see if we can find it. Fuck. Must be closed. Ooh, let me see. Hold on. I gotta go to
Yeah,
Discord real
here.
quick. See if I can find it. I got like a minute. Challenge, challenge, challenge. Where are you? Challenge. So how do we get to it? Leagues. Grid pass not needed.
All right, we're going the wrong way, I've been told.
Oh, it starts at 9. Nice. Okay, so it hasn't even started yet, which is why I don't see it. Billy, what's going on, brother?
Let's see how far you can make it.
Let's see. Let's get out of this.
True.
Huh. Let me get back. Alright. I think that these boys should be now here. Should be open now. I'm guessing. Clear. Wife just went to go get some. Taco Tuesday. Let's go. Alright. PCA. Fuck. Where's the event? Leagues? My leagues. PCA. Sessions. I don't see it. Do they have one tonight or am I? Tuesday night, 14th. Toasted. Open server. Where, bro? Where? Oh, I know why. 'Cause I'm an idiot. Eat some tacos, then hit some Daytona. GTEs are at Daytona? Okay, I don't know. Maybe this is not the leagues, it's the hosted, so we need to be under. And then we'll go to there it is. Oh wow, 62 people, huh? You grow your own peppers? You won't eat them way hot. Man of the land. I'll call you landman. Damn. Passed on the tacos and took home stuffed peppers. Haven't had that in a while. I used to hate it growing up, but then I love it now. Actually, I think I love any home cooked meal now. Just saying. I had a bulldog a Texas tornado shake. It's protein with Takis, hard shell taco from Taco Bell, just to keep it festive. A little bit of almond milk, vanilla flavored, and creatine.
The pit lane speed limit is 55 miles per hour.
It's time to see how slow I am against the crew.
Exit is clear. Don't cross the line.
Bit. I don't trust it. Oh shit. Ooh. Whoa, 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 bro. Cold tires. It's a little weird. Probably easier to do this. Okay. See if I can get somebody here to follow. Sheldon. Let's see what Sheldon's up for too. See if I can chase down Sheldon. Oh fuck. He cooked himself, never mind. Huh. You learn how to carry speed here, because I gotta nail this turn.
Discord or a Irish mic check, please.
Gotcha, Jeff. You hear me?
Yeah, gotcha. Hey everybody, all the cool kids are over at the party on Discord in the S15 channel 1 channel. If you want to meet us up over there.
I think getting the turn before and after the bus stop are going to be like the two most important turns. Not that the other ones don't count, but I think nailing those turns are going to really make or break my race, especially over the course of 2 hours if I can't nail that turn. Trouble. join those gentlemen over in their Discord and go take a leak. Don't die, don't die. What up, Mike? What's for dinner? Damn, I was trying to see how much of that curve I could take.
All right, Patrick, we need to watch the track limits.
I'm gonna go take a leak and then join them boys with the Discord. Oh fuck.
The leader has just done a 147.00.
iRacing mic check, please.
I hear you, Jeff.
Hold on. Ooh. Oh, Curb's always over there. Let's go to cockpit. I think we can learn the most from cockpit view. Chris. 1 second. I'll show you guys. I think that this would be the best way to learn. And I think that'll be very instrumental for my race. Let's pull it up real quick. Okay. What is his name? Click on his channel. There we go.
Depending on how much steering angle you have in the car, all the other cliches that you think of. The final rate.
All right, let's go. So we can give a shout out to Chris. And what Chris does is gives instructional videos for the league. He's one of the pro drivers, and he makes these tutorials. They're pretty in depth, so I think it'd be a good thing to check out. I'm gonna watch it. I think it'd be pretty good in general, just to learn. So shout out to Chris. His channel is PAIZ, his last name, Paz, and then the letter C. So if you guys ever want to check him out. Let's see. Let's blow him up. Let's make sure we have quality up. So I guess it's 1080. Well, we'll have to settle for that. Alright.
Race of the Series 15 sim. Hi everybody, Chris Pice here with another PCA Sim Racing Classroom for Season 15. It's the end, it's the finale. It all comes down to this and all the other cliches that you can think of. The final race of the Series 15 sim racing series for us will be here at wonderful Daytona International Speedway, the world famous roval that pretty much everyone knows. Daytona is one of those tracks that it's got one of the most famous races every year, but at the end of the day it is a roval, which means there's a lot of flat out foot to the floor driving, and straight lines, and a lot of areas on the track where there's a lot of time to sit, think, and relax before you get into a next segment. The roval contains two horseshoes,
Where's that music
which
coming
are
from?
very similar but do have their different quirks to them. We'll go over that in a little bit more detail. And then probably the highlight of the track is the bus stop on the back straight. So we'll go through that in detail. In addition to the regular track walk, we're also going to discuss kind of strategies around Daytona. Daytona is less about who can master the track and drive quickly around the track, and more about who can be more of a strategist. There are plenty of times at Daytona where the first and second place are separated by literal tenths at the end of a race, and that's because Daytona invites different types of setups to be successful, and also really leans hard on to fuel saving and drafting of competitors down these big long straightaways. And usually the person that can both manage fuel, have a fast setup on the car, and obviously be fast around the roval section of the track are the ones that are going to be most successful. You could be the fastest driver on this track, but if you don't work with other drivers in a drafting formation, you can get left behind pretty quickly. So we'll try to cover all that, and we'll try to discuss it in more detail throughout the classroom. But first, like we always do, we're going to go ahead and get started with the just a little demonstration lap. So here we go. I'm going to hop into the cockpit, and I will hit play. There we go. So, like I said, that was just kind of a little bit of a sample lap, just to kind of get us started here. In particular, for those keeping score at home, it looks like the track conditions were 74-degree track temp. The setup I got on my car is just the race setup, so full fuel, so it's a heavy car, and I was able to do basically a 44 day. There's other folks that are definitely quicker around Daytona than I am, but this is a line and kind of a lap that I can repeat over and over and over for hours on end. And that's what I'm going to try to show you guys, is not necessarily the hair on fire quality lap to try to stick you on pole, but the lap that you're going to be doing for the majority of the 2 hours that we're going to be racing. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the stream, so you guys don't get stuck with sound. And so I'll stop sharing that. And there we go. Okay, so let's get this party started with the detailed track walk here. So the first thing to remember, or to keep in mind with Daytona, is there's a couple of corners that lead onto really fast straightaways, and those straightaways, or those corners leading onto the longest straightaways, are the ones that are most important. Particularly turn 6, which is coming out of NASCAR 1 back onto the oval from the Roval, or from the infield, and then also the bus stop. Those are the most important corners on the track. That's not to say that the other corners, like the horseshoes, aren't important, but those are definitely the most important. So if there's anything that you take away from me talking for the next hour, really focus on turn 6 and the bus stop to get really good lap times. If you can't master those, you're going to struggle, to put it bluntly. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up into turn 1. Turn 1 is famous for having infinite amount of lines through it. You can take a very shallow line to kind of protect the inside and get through turn 1 just as successfully as I am showing here, which is taking a high line and trying to straight line coming down off the oval onto the flat. In general, if you're driving and you're not fuel saving, which is what this lap is, this is just a full no fuel save lap, we're going to try to brake right when the cones up here start. That's our initial brake zone, and if you remember, a car likes to do one thing at a time. It doesn't like to do multiple things at a time. So we want to try to avoid turning the car and braking as much as we can. To the extent that we can keep the car in a relative straight line when we're under threshold braking, the better or more efficient that braking is going to be. The shorter amount of distance it will take to actually get the car slowed down. So in general, or in theory, going into turn 1, what we want to do is we want to try to create as straight a line as possible for the heavy portion of the braking. And then as we're starting to get down to the speed that we're going to turn into turn 1, and we start releasing the brake and trailing into turn 1, at that point we can start inducing a bit of turn and steering angle. So one of the easiest ways to do it coming into turn 1 is start off really high. Get up on the right side, pretty close to the wall, and the idea is we want to try to create a straight line, or as straight a line as we can, that goes from the wall, touching the cone at this first apex, if you want to think of it, this is part of the turn, and then braking to end up to the outside before the official turn 1, or the big turn at turn 1, which is past the pit wall. So we get up high, we turn in and start tucking in, and then this is the straight line that we're kind of drawing. Again, I said there's infinite lines here. You could be down here low where my cursor is here. You could be even higher and take a more wider line in to try to carry a little bit more speed. It's whatever you're most comfortable with, frankly, and then where else there's traffic. But in this particular case, I'm kind of taking middle of the road, trying to keep a decent amount of speed on the way in. We're trying to keep that steering wheel as straight as possible and drive the car to the white line on the right side of the track, because if we can get over the car over to the right side of the track before our final turn in for turn 1, it's good, because we're trying to carry as much momentum around the corner. So we're trying to open up turn 1 as best we can. So you can see in the telemetry here, my steering wheel is pretty darn straight. Even though the car is turning a little bit and I've got a little bit of turn, we're pretty much going in a straight line. only when I start bleeding off the brake pedal, so here the red line is my brake pedal, only when I start bleeding off the brake is when I start adding a little bit more turning in. So as I come off of the brake pedal, I'm starting to feed in and start to turn that wheel. So you can see here, the car ends up basically where I started my braking. Car ends up pretty close to this white line over here. And then this is the turn-in point where we're trying to apex around the tire barriers at pit wall, at pit entry, or pit exit actually. So we want to be thinking about turn 1 as a super late apex around these tires, so past these tires. At this point, I'm at maybe 50-40% brake pedal. Now I've started my turning with my steering wheel at this point.
Chris, before you go further, you're popping the accelerator there. What's going on with that?
That's the auto blip. That's just every time I downshift. So these are downshifts.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It looks kind of funny. But yeah, no, these are downshifts. This is the car doing it automatically. Another thing I will mention here is if we look at the surface of turn 1, and this is the same. This is a trend all the way around this track. There's a seam that runs down the middle of the track, just like a road that you drive down every day, like a 2-lane highway. The seam is the highest point on the track. If you are right of the seam, the camber falls to the right of the track. If you're left of the seam, the camber falls to the left of the track. And so we're in Florida. We're in the main part of Florida. There's no hills out here. It is as flat as you can possibly be, and this track is no exception. So while there's no topography to really talk about on the track, there is camber, and the camber comes from this crowning of the road. So as you can see, where our kind of entry point is to this turn, this final turn-in point, there's actually a pretty significant off-camber situation pretty much right at the turn-in point. So you'll actually see my car, the little dip in here, right here. You can see it's falling off to the right, and you have to counter that and get through it. And then as you cross the seam, you're going to actually get a little bit more camber. So the car is going to kind of hook up better and turn better. We need to make sure that we're planning for this. So when we first turn in, the car is really not going to want to turn in. It's going to want to be understeering because the road's falling away. But as soon as we finally get that turn in and we cross that midpoint of the corner or midpoint of the track, the car is going to grip up and turn us in tighter. And the tendency, if you're not ready for it, is once you grip up and the car takes a tighter turn, people sometimes get caught out and they end up turning in too much. And sometimes you see some people clip this tire wall, which is not friendly. So you need to plan that out. So as you turn in, expect understeer. It may feel like you're going to miss the corner, but as you cross the center seam in the road, the car will grip up and it will take a tighter turn after that, all things equal. So as we turn in, we're going to get off the brakes. At this point, we are getting off the brakes, trying to maintain our momentum, and we're trying to feed on throttle to settle the rear of the car. It coincidentally kind of lines up with as we crest the crown in the road, and you can actually see it a lot better. Look how much road we can see on the left side. This is all on camber. This is all grip that we wouldn't otherwise have on a flat track. As we come around the corner and as we start gripping up with the camber, we'll start feeding on the throttle. Granted, we have a 90-degree angle in the car. I mean, we're asking 100% of the grip to actually be turning the car. But because we're getting extra grip from added camber, we can start feeding on a little bit of throttle and start accelerating it through the corner. As we add more and more throttle, we're going to start opening our hands. So we're apexing right around here. You can see how far around the corner we're apexing. So here's the tires, but we're not apexing until over here. And in fact, out the windshield, we're looking for the yellow curbing on the outside, trying to draw and envision a line coming out of that corner, opening our hands as we add the throttle. We'll be in second gear through here, but as soon as we can start opening our hands more and more, that's when we're going to start feeding on that throttle in second gear. And then we're trying to get to full throttle as early as we can while opening our hands and getting a good launch coming out of turn 1. If we do it right, the car is going to end up over on the right side of the track. We want to try to avoid getting all the way up on the curbing on the right because we do have to do this little jig jog right left before we get to the first horseshoe. And so we need to leave a little bit of room. Also, when they updated Daytona, they gave it 3D curbing. These curbs on the right are not friendly. They can really upset the car, whereas before they pretty much were just non-existent. They're just part of the track. Now, if you start running over them, or heaven forbid, drop an actual tire off the other end, it can really upset the car. So just do what you can to try to stay off that curb, but at the same time, get a good run coming out of the corner. You can see as I've crossed back over the seam, the middle seam of the road, the car starts falling off to the right. We're now, the camber of the road is now facing to the right. But as you can see, I stay off the curb. We can take this right-left fully flat from this side. There's enough grip in these cars to do that. We'll kiss the curb a little bit on the right side, but we don't want to get all the way up it and like touch the grass with our right side tires, because even that little bit of turning to the right, if we dip our tires off the road or off the curbing on the right side, it can really upset the car and send you for a ride and potentially spin. So just a little bit of touch of curb is fine. We'll straight line it through this one. And then if we do it right, we're going to end up probably about mid-track or right of mid-track coming into the horseshoe. Things of note for this on the entry, this is pit exit. This is cars blending into track. They have the right of way across the blend line. You can't just drive into them if there's a car coming out of pit lane, or drive over them expecting them to get out of the way. This is their right to this part of the track. Your right to the track, if you're on track with a car coming out, is right of the blend line. So keep that in mind. Just be sure that, and you should be able to see them as you're coming around this corner. When you're in this area right here, if there's a car alongside you, you should beat it to the pit exit point. If there's a car up here where my cursor is, you're going to meet it pretty much right at the blend line. So just keep that in mind. It's very easy to see if there's a car. If you can see you'll see the roof of the car if a car is coming out of pit lane, and be ready for it. But there shouldn't be any reason why somebody on track is coming over the blend line and hitting a car coming out of pit lane. If that happens, then it's the car that's on track that's at fault, not the pit lane car. But let's assume there's nobody coming out of pit lane. As soon as we kind of get the car and it kind of just ends up over here about just right of mid-track, we're going to keep that steering angle in the car and, like a skier, just basically ski over to the left side of the track to open up the horseshoe, international horseshoe specifically. So we'll get the car all the way over to the left along the grass line before we brake. Our brake point is going to be at the end of the dash, the final dash line, and we're going to brake in a straight line, but then we're going to counterintuitively turn in early for this corner. The reason we're turning in early is exactly the same reason for turn one in the weird antics with the crowning of the road. The crown still exists. There is camber on the inside of International Horseshoe. The sooner we can get to the inside and down to the curbing and treat it like a carousel, we are taking advantage of that camber. Can you take it nice and wide and treat it as a single apex? Absolutely, you can definitely do that. But just understand that I find that, at least with my setups and the way I drive the car, I tend to get better runs by getting down to the curbing as quickly as possible, riding that curbing around and using what little camber there is. The longer you stay out to the left, the more off camber you are treating the entry into this corner, and the less overall grip theoretically you have. So we're moving the car over to the left. We're going to brake at the end of the blend line, the dotted blend line. It's going to be a firm brake pedal. Brake in a straight line because we want to slow this car down in as short a distance as possible. And then we're going to start turning in early. So normally, if this was just a flat corner or an on-camber corner, we'd let the car kind of drift all the way out here where my cursor is, and then do a single late apex on the back end to get a really good run coming out. But instead, what I want to do is I want to take advantage of this camber that's right here. So we're turning in early. We're going to cross the seam of the road, and then we're going to get off the brakes and carry that momentum into the corner. So as you can see right here at this point, I'm just now crossing the seam of the road, and I've got maybe 10% brake pedal left in the car. And that's going to significantly decrease down to here, right at the seam. I basically have no brake pedal in the car. I'm trying to roll and keep my momentum on entry into this corner. Remember, if you hold your brake too long on entry into corners, yeah, you've got potentially good turn in so long as you're trail braking well, but you're standing the car on the nose relatively. You're not physically standing the car on the nose, but you're putting the weight of the car on the front tires. So the front tires are getting added grip because you're squeezing them into the ground and they're flattening out like pancakes. But what's happening is you're losing grip on the rear tires. The rear tires are coming up. And so there's less weight in the rear, which means the rear tires just have less grip. We want, when we're asking the car to turn through a corner like this, we want the tires to be giving us 100% of their grip as lateral G, as actually turning force into the corner. So if we stay on that brake pedal for too long on the entry into these corners, we're only really using the majority of the front tires to actually turn the car. We're not even really using the rear tires because there's no weight on them. So to the extent that we can get the racing platform, the car, in a neutral state, so relatively flat, the more we can get out of all 4 tires instead of just 2 tires. So that's kind of the concept here. Get off the brakes and you'll find the car will turn better. If you stay on the brakes too long and you go into these corners too hot and you're like, I gotta slow the car down, the car won't turn unless I slow it down, I'm going too fast. Well, that may be true, but a lot of times what ends up happening is you're just using those front tires because you've got too much brake pedal in the car. Remember, a car can't do 2 things really well. You can only do one thing really well at a time. So at this point, we want the car to turn, not necessarily brake. And then it has the added bonus of you're keeping your speed up and you're keeping your momentum up. So as you can see here, I'm not even anywhere close to the apex point at the corner, and I'm done braking effectively. As I go around the corner, this corner entry has a lot of coasting. We're just trying to get the car to turn around this corner. If I added brake pedal here, or I added accelerator here, or gas here, even subtly, it's going to cause those front tires to be overwhelmed and we're going to start understeering. But keeping everything neutral is telling the tires, we just want you to turn and that's it. We don't want you to focus on anything else. I gave it a little dab of brake because I was a little bit quick on this particular lap, so a little dab of brake could get the front end to tighten up a little, or turn it a little bit more. But it's just enough to try to say, okay, give me a little bit more. But I'm very quickly off of it and back into a neutral state. The apex, the actual apex of the corner is way around this corner. Using these these new Rolex signs. This is all new branding, so this didn't exist last year. But they're a good kind of visual cue to basically, as you're going around the sign, that's a really good spot to kind of apex this corner. I never used them previously. Well, first off, they weren't there. But second, I'm looking up the road, so I'm trying to look through the corner. So my vision is so focused up on track out. When that comes into view, that's when I know I can start unwinding the wheel. So the apex point is going to be right around where the Rolex banner is here. Maybe a car length or two from the end of the actual curbing itself. The car is pointed basically at the carousel, I think. So if we look in here, I start picking up throttle right there. So right at the funny looking carousel, the scary one, not the traditional one. As the car is kind of crossing that plane or this pole and getting close to this plane, I start picking up throttle because I can get a good run coming out. So these are all things you can use as a visual cue to say, when my eyes, the center point of the car is passing certain points, I can accelerate. Really useful for tracks like this that are incredibly flat, where you can't really see the road. Accelerating out, we're going to get on the throttle. We're going to kind of roll onto the throttle. We always, when we exit corners like this, we want to be adding throttle. Where time tends to be lost is when you start to get to throttle, realize, oop, that's too early, back out of the throttle, and then go back later. That coming out and back on is just time loss. When you go to throttle, you want it to be at a point where you're only adding throttle from that point. So you're only increasing that throttle. So you can see here, I kind of went up, got to a threshold where I felt the car was kind of starting to understeer, and there wasn't enough, or I mean, it was too early really to go to full throttle, so I had to delay it. But I didn't come out of the throttle. I just kind of went up, paused for a moment. I'm still actually increasing it very slightly, and then once I'm confident the car is good, at that point I'm full throttle. So at this point I'm full throttle on my exit out of the corner through the horseshoe. I'm opening the hands. The car is going to want to skate around, especially as it goes over the crown of the road and we go to negative camber on the outside. The car is going to try to, depending on the setup, try to wiggle its bum a little bit. Just catch it. There's no reason why, especially if you are doing it appropriately and not getting on throttle too early with too much steering angle, a little bit of oversteer can actually help get the car pointed in a really good direction. You just control it with the pedals and with your steering. We'll use this little service road as we open our hands and keep the platform nice and stable. This curbing is fine to roll over, and in fact, it's encouraged to maximize the track exit at this point. All right, now we're cruising down, and we're coming down to the infamous kink. Once your tires are all warmed up, it should be flat, although it depends on your setup and it depends on track conditions. If you're running a super aggressive low downforce setup, the kink can be sketchy, especially on cold tires. My word of advice is when you're setting up a car, make sure you're comfortable with the kink. I mean, you have to be comfortable with the kink because you're going to be doing it for 2 straight hours. If you're sketchy every time through there, it's going to be a very long 2 hours, and it just takes one time for you to lose it for your race to end over those 2 hours. So be careful through the kink and make sure you're comfortable with it. But in general, it's just a really fast left-hander, and we have to keep our hands as quiet as possible. So as a little bit of steering input and as little bit of you want to be smooth. Any jerky motion with the steering is going to be amplified through this corner. So we're going to stay to the right side of the track. We're going to apex, basically right on the apex curbing, and then we're going to let the car kind of run out wherever it needs to run out on the exit to keep the platform nice and controlled. So you turn in, apex on as close to the curbing as you can. Some cars don't like, and some setups don't like getting up on this curbing. There's no need to have to get on the curbing, frankly. You can should be able to take this flat without even touching it, but your mileage may vary. So on this particular lap, I don't actually even touch it, but I'm 100% flat. And then you can see on the exit, I don't even use all the track. I don't even get all the way to the curbing. I end up about just right of mid-track. Once we go through the kink, we get to the second horseshoe. I think it's called West Bend. So coming into West Bend, very similar to the first horseshoe, with the exception of this is more of a traditional in my opinion, double apex corner, where you can do an early apex, let the car kind of drift out a little bit, and then get to the final apex. But there's a lot of different lines through here. You can take it super shallow, you can take it nice and wide, you can do a combination of the two. There's a lot more leadway in terms of how to take West Bend than International Horseshoe. So in general, it's what you're most comfortable with. I personally like a double apex, so it's a shallow entry, apex early in the corner, let the car drift out a little bit, and then apex again later on through the corner. In my mind, though, the whole goal of the corner is to apex the final apex late. However you want to get there is up to you. The advantage of running in deep is that theoretically you'll be faster on the way out because you have more full throttle time. The advantage of running shallow is you're not traveling as far, and you protect your inside from attack because nobody can really get underneath you if you are already diving really shallow and double apex in the corner. The reason speed on the exit of this corner isn't as important as some of the other corners, in fact I think this is probably the least important corner on the track, is because the straightaway after it is quite short leading up to turn 6. So the advantage of taking a really late diamond into this corner to maximize your run coming out of the corner doesn't pay off as much as, say, turn 6 or even International Horseshoe previously, because the straight following it is just not very long. So it's whatever you're most comfortable with. But what I like to do, like I said, is get the car over to the left, about halfway down or a little bit before halfway down of this access road over here on the left. I am going to brake, and I'm going to kind of try to start getting the car turned in a little bit and try to brake in this line that you can see my cursor here. That's the general idea. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to apex early on the curbing. The car will drift out slightly and then do a very late apex later in the corner. And I hope I do it on this lap. I don't always do the same thing every time. So I'm actually taking a pretty wide initial line, but I am going to get down to this first apex. So the first apex is right here where my cursor is. The car will drift out just slightly, And then the second apex is going to be here where the curbing and the grass kind of meet, way down here. So you can see I'm drifting out a little bit, tucking it back in, and then that's kind of my second apex. Not the best example, frankly, on this particular lap, but that's the general idea in my head of how I want to handle this corner. But like I said, if you really want to, you can take it in even deeper, get the car turned somewhere around here, and then just single apex it. But I find I tend to have a little more success by hitting a double apex. Remember, there still is this crown in the road, so the earlier you can get down to the curbing, you are taking advantage of camber that is available, what little there is. When you get on throttle on the exit, just much like International Horseshoe, as you cross over the seam, you can get a little bit of oversteer. So right around here, depending on how much steering angle you have in the car, if you've got a more steering angle, the more steering angle you have, the better chance you have to have a little bit of oversteer. You can catch it very easily and kind of ride it out. On exit, we want to use all of the curbing, and sometimes we even dabble the grass just a touch, but use all the curbing to maximize your the speed coming out of the corner. All right, any questions about the infield of the Roval before we get to the last couple corners? Nope, hearing none. Okay, let's continue. All right, so now we're going to come up to, in my opinion, the most important corner, or one of the most important corners in the track, which is turn 6, leading on to back onto NASCAR, which is the high banks. There's a couple of different lines through here. My favorite line is to keep it shallow, and what I mean by that is minimize the distance traveled, focus on trying to get on throttle early, but we want to have 2 apexes to the corner. We want to have one at the grass, and then we want to have one when there's a transition onto the high bank. The other line that's through here is apex in the grass, but hopping on throttle is even earlier, with the idea that you're going to run way wide. You're going to end up all the way really close to the NASCAR wall on the oval, but you'll be going faster, and therefore it justifies the longer distance traveled. I like the shallower line personally because I tend to get the best lap times when I do it, so that's what I'll show. So really good visual cue in terms of braking zone. We're going to brake when we cross over onto this little access road on the right. This is part of the track, so we can use it. So you can see I'm kind of cheating over as much as I can to try to open the corner as best as I can. We're going to brake in a straight line all the way down to the curbing at the end of the access road. And at that point, we're going to turn in for the corner. So as you can see, I'm braking, hit the curbing here, ride the curbing all the way to the end of the curbing, and that's where I'm going to start my turn-in point. As I turn in, I'm going to start bleeding off, like all the other corners, the 2 horseshoes previously. I'm going to start bleeding off my brake and trailing it into the corner. So I'm trying to get off the brake as quickly as I can in order to roll my momentum through the front part of this corner. As we cross the seam here, we're going to get on camber, and my goal at this point is to put my left side tires in the dirt. So just barely kissing the dirt using all of this curbing. So this is apex 1 right here at the dirt. Once I get to this point, the car is actually going to take a little bit of a turn. You can actually see it kick a little bit. It's really using what little banking or what little camber we have in the car, and then also getting all the way down here. This has a lot of grip, this has less grip, so the grippier side is kind of catching and turning the car a little bit better. Once we get off the dirt and off the curbing, we get another little kick of extra grip to keep it nice and tight. And at this point, like I said, some people like to really get on power and ride the car all the way out here, get on the rumble on the outside, and just take this really wide arc around the exit of turn 6. I like to delay my throttle just a touch, just so I can get the nose to point in a little bit more and take a really shallow line to help get me in a straight line. So as I come out of this corner, I start picking up throttle. The car is really on edge at this point. If you just slam on throttle and you have a lot of steering angle, there's a real high risk for you to get into traction control or potentially spin the car. just be smooth with your throttle. Just slowly roll it on. There's no rush. We want to get to max throttle basically at right around this point. So after we've kind of finished our first initial turn, at this point we should be able to get to full on throttle. But notice I'm staying on the left side of the seam, so I'm staying on the on camber side of the track. If you run over the seam, you're now off camber and there's less grip and everything's kind of falling out to the right. And so that's one of the reasons I don't like running super wide here. And then the second apex is going to be exactly where you can see it. As we come around this corner, we're full throttle, we're on absolute edge of the car, but we should be able to get the car down to this last little point on the white line where we transition onto the oval, the high banks. That's my second apex point. So we turn in, we let the car kind of run around, and then boom, that's my second apex point. I'm nice and shallow. There's no risk of getting up into the wall. We've traveled a significantly less distance, or significant less distance than somebody that drove it all the way out here where my cursor is, to try to get on throttle sooner. And at the end of the day, from racing other cars at Daytona, I don't think there's an advantage necessarily one way or the other, so I like to kind of just take the shortest point as possible. If we do this, we're already in a good spot coming through the first turn here on the oval. We want to keep, whenever we're going around the oval, we want to, through the turns, stay as close to the yellow line as possible. These cars have so much grip that there's no reason to have to treat them like a normal corner, so we just want to travel the least amount of distance as possible, which is hugging that yellow line. Of course, if you're following somebody and you're using draft and they are higher or they're in mid-track for some reason, follow them, because you'll get more advantage by drafting somebody and staying on the yellow line. But if you're on your own, you should definitely be on the yellow line to minimize the distance travel. Coming up to the bus stop, we have some really good brake markers for the bus stop. In general, the goal of the bus stop is kind of twofold. We want to brake in a situation where we've got a nice stable platform under heavy braking. We can't avoid having to brake and turn at the same time on entry. So we need to try to draw as straight a line as possible. And then when we get through the bus stop, we want to draw an exit line that's as straight as possible to the last part of the bus stop, to where we can get on throttle, get to full throttle, and stay on full throttle for as long as possible. And if we can keep the line as straight as possible on the exit, we're going to have a really good run coming out. Where people get in trouble into the bus stop is they've got too much steering angle in the car when they go to throttle. And when that happens, you're asking the car to turn, and then you're asking it to accelerate as well. The car traction control will do something weird, or the car doesn't like it. It will probably most likely understeer because of the traction control, and then you clamber over the curbs, which basically completely upsets the platform. And then by the time you land, you're going sideways into a wall. So we want to try to draw straight lines as best as we can for the bus stop. Don't get discouraged with the bus stop. It is not easy. It's definitely the most difficult corner on the track. So as we come up here, if we're going full chat with no fuel save, I like to use this light as my brake zone between the 2 and the 1 board. So this brake will be my, this light will be my brake marker. So as we come in here, boom, we're gonna hit the brake right under the marker, and it's gonna be a hard brake. From here until we start to tip the car in, we're asking everything out of the brakes, because we actually need to slow the car down from 170 miles an hour. So we're going to brake very, very heavily. This is basically max brake without getting into ABS. And then as we start to tip the car in slowly, we're going to start releasing the brake pedal just a little bit, so the car can actually start taking a good line into the initial bus stop. So you can see I'm off the brakes, how much I come off the brakes while I'm turning the car. And then this is the first straight line. We're going to try to straight line from this curbing to this curbing as best as we can. So as we come here, I don't like to get on this curbing too much, but it's kind of inevitable to try to have a fast lap. But what I don't want is I don't want the car pitching forward or backwards going over this curb. So I'm off everything. I'm in a neutral state at this point and getting the platform as flat as possible. So when I hit this curbing, the car is not going to get upset because I'm not asking too much of it. All I'm asking of it is a little bit of lateral grip on the right side tires, which are already on the ground. Once I get over the curbing and I get into the next portion here where I'm going to try to draw the straight line and transition to a right hand turn, I'm going to get a little bit more brake to kind of set the nose of the car and get some good turn in so I can get the car nice and gripped up front for the right hand turn. So it's just a little bit of braking pedal, as you can see here, boop, to get the car set, and then boom, off the brakes again, because I'm going to tap this curb on the right, which is going to kick the right side corner up. And then from here, all this is trying to get this car on a nice arc, so when the arc finishes, I've got a straight line, or as straight a line as possible, between the last two apexes. So nice arc here. I'm starting to pick up throttle because I know that the car is still turning, and I know that through experience and practice that once I get to around this point, as I open up my hands, I can start adding more and more throttle, and I'm going to see that sight picture that is the straight line between these last two. So you can see how much throttle I have. I actually get out of the throttle briefly because it wasn't perfect. But at this point, I want the car to basically be as straight as possible as I hit this curb and then jump over the next curb. So a straight line there, I land, and then we'll hit this curb and we should be on our way. If we hit this curb with any steering angle, it's usually pretty bad news. Luckily, these sausages that over here on the left really aren't that bad. I mean, you don't want to be killing them with your left side tires because you can catch one wrong and kick the car up. But in general, they're pretty smooth, smoother than they look. In terms of getting a 1X, this is obviously completely legal because I've got my right side tires on the curbing. I'll show you the previous lap where I did pick a 1X up, and that probably was pretty darn close to being okay, but it can kind of give you an idea of how close or how much curb you can actually take. And then once you run through there, it's the same thing as before. Keep the car down, low, around the yellow line to minimize the distance traveled. And that's a lap at Daytona. All right, any questions about just general lines, general ideas through here, or any corners you wanted to see again before we start talking about fuel safe?
Chris, what wing do you like for this track?
So on this particular setup, I've got one click from minimum, which I think is what, 6.2 or 6.7? 6.7. I think it's 6.7, I want to say. 6.7. It's whatever one click up from minimum is. I find with the setup that I like to run, having min wing is really great for the straightaways, but the kink gets a little sketchy, or can get very sketchy. And it also takes away my ability to race folks on the infield. So by having one click of wing, it really settles the rear and enables me to be quicker on the infield than on the straightaway. Do I suffer on the straights relative to others? Potentially. But at the end of the day, at start finish, I think it's like less than a mile an hour difference. Where you're going to see it kind of hurt, is that if you're drafting somebody or somebody's drafting off of you, there can be a pretty big delta between the top speeds, and so sometimes that can hurt as well. But it's, at the end of the day, it's what you're most comfortable with, because if you can't drive 2 hours on a setup, what's the point? Because if you're wrecked, you're wrecked. It doesn't matter what wing you had. And there's so many other factors to it in terms of like the rake in the car, how much rear, how high the rear is relative to the front to counteract having no wing. There's so many other factors in the setup of a car that it's not just pure wing that determines controllability of the car. You can set up a zero wing car or minimum wing car to handle just fine and handle the kink just fine, but then it's going to start to suffer in other spots like the core, like the horseshoes. The car is not going to want to turn in as much because you're adding grip to the rear by reducing rake. Everything's a trade-off at the end of the day, so it's finding that right balance to enable you to have your best speed. And that's what I said at the very beginning of the classroom, is Daytona's a weird duck. It's not like other tracks. It's all strategy, frankly. It's how you're racing, the folks that are around you. Are you drafting? Are you conserving fuel? How are you going to treat this race and plan it out for the 2-hour period? And so that kind of segues into the next idea around here is it's not all about pure speed. And sometimes it's disadvantageous to run full speed around here, because when you stop to take fuel, you may have to take more fuel, or you may have to actually have a whole nother stop that somebody else that's saving fuel might not have to. It's going as fast as you can while spending as little resources as possible. That's what Daytona kind of is, and all racetracks, frankly. But because Daytona has so few turns, and it has so much wide open throttle, how you conserve that energy and conserve those resources, tires and fuel, can be advantageous for the duration of the race, if that makes sense. So one of the things I kind of wanted to show here was that lap was a 44 dead, just about. If I go to this lap 6, and I'm gonna go to cockpit on this one, and then I'm gonna stream again. So if you want to, if you're in Discord, click my stream so you can hear the car. So if I go screen, so go to Discord, click my name, click watch stream. The big thing I want you to hear is I want you to hear where I'm getting off throttle, and you'll be able to see it with the telemetry here. So coming up into turn 1 is where it starts. So I'm on throttle, I'm on throttle, I'm on throttle, I'm off throttle right here. At this point, I'm not touching anything. I'm not touching any pedal. I am coasting. So whereas before I drove all the way to the front cones and my brake zone was somewhere where my cursor is right now, this is where I've lifted for fuel saving. And then I'm braking, starting my brake pedal here, later. So I'm lifting early, coasting, so that's scrubbing speed through just air, drivetrain drag, rolling resistance drag, aero drag, and then I'm braking later than I would if I was going full chat, because I am entering the braking zone at a lower speed. I can go deeper before I actually hit the brake pedal. So it's lifting early and braking later, and then if we do it right, we end up in the same spot as the qualifying or full beans lap. So we drive all the way through, normal corner, full throttle coming out of the corner, and then we come up to this corner, we have another opportunity. Lift. I've lifted right here. You can see where my throttle has come down. But I'm not at the brake zone. The brake zone is at the end of the white line. So yeah, it's only a couple hundred feet, but a couple hundred feet over a full lap after lap after lap, they just keep adding on, adding on, adding on. And by the end of my lap, or by the end of my first stint, if I keep doing that couple hundred feet every time going into this turn, that may be from International Horseshoe to International Horseshoe through the kink of fuel save. That's what, a quarter of a lap, a third of a lap? And that's just this little bit of savings. So lift here, brake later. So you can see where the gap is in the telemetry. So instead of them being on top of each other, there's just a little bit of gap. That's fuel save. Go through International Horseshoe. We're going to do it again. We're going to go through the kink. As soon as we get through the kink, we're going to lift. Right here. I've lifted. My brake is going to be towards the end of the service road because I'm going to be entering it slower. Brake. So this on the telemetry graph, that's all fuel save. I'm not burning fuel through here. Coming up to turn 6. Same thing. We're going to lift right there. So we're lifting a few hundred feet before our actual brake zone. Brake there a little bit later than we would normally. Fuel savings. And then the biggest one, other than turn 1, is coming obviously into the bus stop. Bus stop and turn 1 are the biggest places to really save fuel and lose the least amount of time. So my go-to coming into the bus stop is lift at the 3 board. So we're gonna lift here. Oh. Ah. Come on. Right there. That's where I'm lifting at the 3 board. And then I'm gonna coast all the way to the 1 board and then brake at the 1. So coast, 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 brake. That's all fuel saves. That's a significant amount of fuel saving. And then enter into the bus stop. And so you may say, well, okay, well, how much does that save? Well, here you go. So when I was running through here, my fuel save laps were 0.79 and 0.8, probably close to 0.79. When I was running full, it was 0.86. So that's 0.07 gallons per lap. You do 10 laps like that, you're now at 0.7 gallons. There's probably, what, 20-ish laps? So I'm saving a gallon of fuel over the course of an entire stint, which is over a lap by doing that. So you're probably saving maybe even a lap and a half. There's potential to do more if you want to really be aggressive with it. But you're saving fuel. And then here's the kicker. Lap times. So my fuel save lap was a 44.38. My full speed running with my hair on fire was a 44.0. So 0.3 seconds of a difference on that particular lap. Is it worth it? Is it not? You have to kind of be the determiner in terms of like what your strategy is going to be. If your strategy is going to be to try to save fuel to save a pit stop, I would say absolutely yes, it's worth it, because a pit stop here usually lasts about a minute. But let's say you have to do a final pit stop. Everybody's going to have to do at least 3 pit stops, let's say. So maybe saving doesn't make any sense, because everybody, no matter how much you save, you can't kick off that last pit stop. Okay, maybe it doesn't make sense then. Maybe you just go full chat all the way. But only you can kind of determine whether or not that's beneficial or not. And the way you do that is by running practices, running preludes, testing things out, seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. So that was one of them. I had a couple of things Doug wanted me to mention to everybody real quick. Oh yeah, incidents for this race. So it is a longer race. It's a 2-hour race. The incident limit is staying the same. So it's still 25 incidents before a DQ or a penalty. Be smart about it. Around here, you shouldn't be hitting 25 incidents over the course of 2 hours. There's really no blatant off tracks other than maybe the bus stop. But even then, like, you have to just be smart about it. If you're hitting 25, you're either really struggling to keep the car on the track, or you're banging doors and hitting other people, which is racking up the 4Xs. But 25 incidents for the 2 hours, just be sure you're aware of it. He also wanted me to mention that the weather is realistic with no rain, but the cloud variability could impact fuel, cloudy versus overcast. I mean, yes, it can. It's just general track state can affect how much fuel burn there is. But just be smart about it. You know, try to run maybe different ideas, different weather scenarios, just to kind of get an idea of a hotter track or cooler track, what that's going to do to your fuel mileage. And yeah, again, 2 hours. There's a lot of racing to be done in that time. You get kicked or get hit, or you do any hitting on lap 1. It's just not smart for the 2 hours. So just be smart. Pick a spot. Remember, you qualify where you qualify for a reason. That's your pace. It's always super enticing to try to go for a move really early on when all the cars are stacked up, because you say, oh, this is my opportunity to make up 4 or 5 spots. But in reality, if you would have deserved to be up higher in the grid order, you would have qualified better. So even if you were able to get 4 or 5 spots because you dove bombed somebody into turn 1, odds are over the next few laps they're going to pass you anyway, because their pace was better on qualifying. So be smart about it. Keep your car and your machinery intact and follow the golden rule, which is race others like you'd want them to race you, and you'll be in a pretty good spot. Any questions about Daytona setups, saving fuel, lines, anything like that? Here's your opportunity. There's got to be something. No? Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording so we can have an endpoint there. I'm under an hour, which is fun. That's for the first time. So thank you guys for watching in TV Land, and we'll see you in season 16, which should be a new car, which I believe is the new Cup car. And that should happen later this year, and I will do class rooms for there. So stay tuned if you're watching this on YouTube. So thanks for watching on that front. Hi everybody, Chris Pye is here again for another classroom of PCA Sim Racing. This week we are going to be tackling the road course at Indianapolis. It is a scorcher. One of the, I guess, shticks for this week is not only are we driving a classic track at the Yard of Bricks, but we're also going to crank up the heat. It's the end of summer, fall is here, but we're going to have one more hot one before we totally get into fall weather. So track temps are going to be as high as the sim pretty much allows, so make sure that you're practicing on really, really hot track surfaces. I think my times and the track that I've done here where I put some laps in for this is 134 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's a scorcher. What is that going to mean for us while we drive? That means we're going to have less grip. Overall, the higher the temperature, the less mechanical grip we have in the car. The tires are going to feel greasy. You're going to probably get a couple of okay laps. Maybe your second and third lap will be a decent amount of grip, but then the grip is going to kind of fall off and the car is going to just feel like it's got overheated tires, which is exactly the case. We can't lower the pressures any lower than what we are normally running. So the result is overall higher tire pressures throughout the run. Higher tire pressure means less grip, and that gives you that greasy feeling. The tire is effectively ballooning and your contact patch is shrinking. So what does that mean? Well, we just have to make sure that we're driving within our means around this track. Indy has a couple of main characteristics, I'd say. The first being we've got these really slow corners off of really fast straightaways. So turn, I got the little map here, turn one, then the back straight going into a left-hander, that turn, and then also coming off the oval out of turn one on Indy Oval, coming down into the little infield section. All of these turns drive very similarly, but each turn has its quirks. The other characteristic of Indy is very high-speed sweepers. Specifically the big long right-hander that's leading on to the main straightaway on the front stretch. It's super hot, super fast, very, very, I guess, edgy, especially in these hot temperatures. And we need to do our best to make sure that we have good confidence going through turn 12. I think it's turn 12. So we don't have an incident there that could potentially end our race. For the races that we have this season, the setup is open, so you're free to make adjustments as you wish. One thing I would say, if when you are setting up your car for Indy specifically, is focus on setting up for turn 12. Make turn 12 comfortable. Get it to where you're not really necessarily have to think about it, and make sure it's that way 10 laps into a run. If it feels great on lap 2 and lap 3, that's fantastic. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's also going to feel like that on lap 15, 10 or 15. Again, tires get hot, they start to wear, especially that left rear is going to be taking a beating around this track. And as that left rear heats up and wears, you're going to get less and less grip, which means the tendency to lose grip at that left rear first. So again, build your setup to make turn 12 comfortable. Once you get turn 12 comfortable, then you can focus on maybe tweaking the setup for elsewhere around the track. And then once you feel like you've got a good setup where you've got good speed, come back to turn 12 and make sure that the little adjustments you've made elsewhere for the track are still holding up for turn 12. Any questions about setup, track, car before we go into the turn-by-turn track walk for Indy?
are you going to cover maybe specifics on how to do the turn 12 setup? Is that a roll bar adjustment or ride height or
Well, that's yeah.
camber, what?
No, good questions. Let's talk about it real quick. So, in general, for the setup, what the tendency for turn 12 is it's off camber slightly, and there's a little bit of a bump right pretty much at apex, and we'll go over it in the track walk with more specificity. But to set up the car for a high speed right-hander where you're constantly accelerating through, you need stability in the car, and we've got a couple of mechanisms in this Cup car that we can do to try to increase our stability. The first is the roll bars. So you can adjust the front roll bar and you can adjust the rear roll bar. The higher the number, I believe, on the roll bar, the stiffer that roll bar is for that for the front or the rear of the car. The stiffer any particular part of the car, the less grip, I'm putting air quotes, the less grip it tends to have, meaning that it's going to lose traction quicker. It's going to have less mechanical grip relative to the other portion of the car. So when we talk roll bars, you got the front end, you got the rear end. If the front end is relatively stiffer than the rear, the car tends to understeer. And the reason it's understeering is because the front tires are going to lose grip before the rear tires. So car on a balance, if it's on a balance going through a corner, the front end is going to start to slide before the rear, which means you're going to push and have an understeer situation. That's a very safe setup, but it's not very fast. Inversely, if you stiffen up the rear of the car and soften the front, you add grip to the front axle, you take it away from the rear axle, and the rear is going to lose traction first, all things equal. The rear end loses traction first, the tendency to oversteer. If you're oversteering through turn 12, you're going to be catching the car and countersteering through a very high-speed section. If you have too much oversteer, it's going to loop on you if you're not careful. So higher risk, but a rotating car tends to be a little bit faster than an understeery car. The other mechanism we have is this big darn wing on the back of this Cup car. The more aero we add, or the more attack angle we add to the wing, the more aerodynamics are going to go over that rear wing and push the rear of the car into the ground, adding grip to the rear tires or the rear axle. More grip in the rear means relatively less grip in the front, which means understeer. So in general, more wing means understeer if everything else is equal. Less wing means less aero going over it, less grip on the rear axle, which means oversteer, all things considered. So the balance the balance you've got to kind of keep with the rear wing is, if you add maximum rear wing for turn 12 and you get it nice and stable, means you're going to be slower down the straightaways. And there's two massive straightaways on this track. And so it's a balance of how much speed, top end speed, do I want to give up because of aero drag versus how much rear end grip do I want to have through turn 12. That's something only you can answer relative to your driving style. We can also affect the rake of the car, which is how high the rear of the car is relative to the front. If we have no rake or the car is sitting flat, the platform is going to tend to be a little bit more understeering. If we add rake to the car, so we raise the rear of the car up, it's going to tend to have more oversteer. It's going to tend to rotate more. More aerodynamics or a higher attack in the wing, so more wing in the rear, you want to offset with more rake, because the faster the car goes, the more aero going over that rear wing, it's going to push the rear of the car down. So we offset that push and increase in rear grip with more rake to achieve kind of what's called aero balance, to kind of get that neutralness of the platform. So more wing, you want to add more weight, rake. Less wing, you want to kind of take rake out. Ultimately, all these things kind of work in conjunction to create a platform and create a car that, again, is comfortable through turn 12, because we're driving this thing for an hour at this track. You may get a setup that is lightning fast, and you can knock off that great lap once, twice, heck, maybe even 10 times in a row. But let's say out of 10 laps, you really run the risk of having a spin in that 10 laps because of the setup in the car. I would say that's probably too aggressive of a setup. even if you're fast on 9 out of 10 laps, all it takes is one spin, and you just gave away all of that advantage you had on the fast laps and then some. So you don't want to have a spin. So create a car that's comfortable to drive for an hour, that you can still focus on actually racing, because remember, we're not hot lapping, we're going wheel to wheel. So you're going to be thinking about a whole lot of other things than just trying to control the car. So whatever setup allows you to have the mental capacity to continue to actually race with other people, that's the setup that is going to be the best race setup. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions about setup? I know I went pretty quick through that. In general, there's not a whole lot we can do with this car relative to other cars like GT3 class cars, or heck, even GT4 cars. You can do a lot more to the setup, like switch spring rates, change dampers, all sorts of stuff. The Cup car is designed to be a very spec car. So other than ARBs, wing, rake, very minor adjustments, there's not a whole lot we can do. And in fact, the first 2 races that I've done in the pro class, and I got 6th both races, I'm just running the iRacing setup with maybe 1 or 2 tweaks, changing the wing a little bit depending on the track, and that's what I've been running. So the iRacing setup for the specific tracks are always a really good starting point, and frankly, if you want to just run that and not worry about setups, that's perfectly valid too. That's what I've been doing, and seeing some success with it. So all right, any questions about that setup, car, track, heat? Okay, cool. All right, well, let's...
Thank you for answering my question.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so let's hop into the track walk if we got no other questions. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to go into cockpit, and I'm going to show a lap that I was able to do. So my fast lap I was able to do was about a mid 28 at 134 degrees track temp. That is really hot, but it is what it is, and it's what we got to practice with. So here we are. All right, so that's the lap that we're going to take a look at. You could see me going through that last corner, really dancing the car, holding on to it as best I could. She gets squirrely, to say the least. So let's take it turn by turn.
Chris, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I see there are 2 high up 3D curbs. Any special adjustments to the suspension to handle those, or you stick to the default setup?
Yeah, so and again, I believe you can't make any damper adjustments on this particular car, and you can't make any spring adjustments either. So our dampers and our springs are what they are. This car handles them pretty well. That being said, though, other than one corner in particular, which is the little chicane going onto the back straight, I wouldn't touch the curbs. I wouldn't even nibble them if you can avoid it. The more you go on to the curbs, and we'll talk about it here in a second going into turn 1, it's the first opportunity to see these giant curbs. But anytime you hit the curbs here, other than the chicane, on these little tight corners, it really kicks the car up, and you're basically putting the car on two wheels, and it delays your ability to go to throttle significantly. You have to wait for the car to come down, land, rebound, and then settle, and then you can go to throttle. If you avoid the curb entirely, you can go on throttle much sooner. So whatever advantage you may gain by cutting the corner, is kind of lost in that you have to delay your throttle significantly, and you run the risk of over bouncing it, getting on throttle too soon, and looping the car. So, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, no, unfortunately, you can't really do a whole lot with the actual suspension on this car to kind of negate it like you can a GT3 car. So, but great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question. All right, so let's take a look. As always on these, down here at the left is the telemetry, so you can see my speed, my gear, and you can see very small, but it's my steering wheel and then my pedals. Green for the accelerator, red for the brake. Coming up into turn 1, we have some really excellent braking boards, and we're going to be driving right under them. So our vision, I mean, these brake boards are just perfect in our vision. The only thing you need to be cautious of coming into this brake zone is, because there's so many of them, if you're racing somebody side by side, it's very easy to lose track of which board is actually which. I've done it on more than one occasion where I've blown past my brake board because I see another one coming up right behind it, and I think that one's the brake board because I'm racing somebody. Be very careful and be very keen on what number you want to pick, and make sure you brake there. Don't miss it by 100 feet, because that's not good. You're going to drift into the car behind you or in front of you. For me, I've found that the 600 board works really well for me in this hot temperatures. Could you maybe go to 500? Maybe, but you really run the risk of locking up. And if you lock up, you're going to go sailing through this corner. There's not a whole lot I can do. So I like braking a little bit earlier, a little softer, keeping the balance of the car to set up for turn 1. Turn 1 is, we're coming off what little oval there is here. The track is pretty darn flat, but it does go downhill a little bit. And then after the apex point, we actually have a bit of a compression where the oval track compresses into the roval portion, the road course portion of the oval. So we can use that to our advantage. So the goal through turn 1 is brake a little bit early, get the car rotated super early in the corner, take a late apex through this corner, but not too late, and really focus on getting off the brakes early. So the tendency especially for this car, is to trail brake, sometimes too much, overslow the car. This car really likes an initial trail brake to get some grip on the front tires with the balance. So whenever we brake the car, or we hit the brake pedal, we transfer the weight to the front axle. When we transfer the freight from the front axle, we're transferring the weight up there, which pushes those big Michelins into the surface of the racetrack. When the tires get squished into the racetrack, they pancake, and your contact patch increases because there's more weight on and friction on those tires. So it's increasing the ability for the front tire to have just overall grip. It increases your ability to use the front tires for braking, but it also increases the front tire's ability to turn. The problem is when you are trail braking, you are asking the car to both turn and brake at the same time. So while an initial trail brake is great for getting weight on the front axle and helping the front tires bite into the surface, if you maintain that and keep slowing the car down while you're still turning the car, the tires are not going to be able to do both particularly well. So you'll actually find out that as you're coming into corners like this, where they're really tight, if you release the brake earlier than you think, you will actually get some more turning capability on the front axle. So trail brake initially to get that initial bite, and then don't just jump off the brake, but release it relatively quickly. Try to get off it as quick as you can. Let the car coast through the first part of the corner, and you'll find you'll have a lot of actual steering ability in the front of the car, because you're asking the tires to only give you steering grip as opposed to braking and steering. A little counterintuitive, but give it a shot. I would say with the students that I coach privately, 90% of them overslow the car in tight corners because they're trail braking all the way to the apex because they think they need to. You don't. As soon as you turn in, the front tires are scrubbing speed with friction, and braking on top of that will lead you to overslow the car and lose time right in the middle part of the corner. So what does that look like? Okay, if we come on in, I'm going to brake at the 600 board right here. Boom. It is a really, really firm brake pedal. It is threshold braking to the max. We are getting as close to lockup as we possibly dare coming into this corner. My turn-in point is going to be somewhere around the 1 board, but honestly, I'm not even looking at this 100 board at all. I am not looking at the 100 board. My eyes are down here at the apex, and in fact, at this point, I'm looking through the corner at track out point. So when reviewing my footage of replays like this, I can see that I don't turn until about the 100 board. But in reality, that's not my gauge of my turn-in point. I'm not driving point to point. My vision is up. So you can see at this point, right when I start my turn-in, which is right here, I start turning my wheel, my brake pedal is at about 50%. I turn in, I turn down, I'm on the entry part. My brake pedal is at about 15-20% at this point. I've turned what I would consider my first initial turn-in for this. I've finished my initial turn-in, and I am now going down to apex at this point, so the car has already started its rotation. I've got maybe 10% brake pedal in the car. I am pretty much at right before apex, so I haven't even hit the apex point. I've got a nominal amount of braking in. I might as well be 0% at this point. Maybe just a touch, just to keep a little bit more weight on the front end axle. And then I'm at apex on this particular corner, to what we said before, don't touch these curbs. On this particular one, I did hit the curb, but we want to get as close as we can without touching them. But look at this point. I'm adding throttle. I'm done with my braking. I'm actually starting to accelerate at this point. Coming out of the corner, I'm basically full throttle as I'm unwinding my wheel. Now, if we look at the characteristics of the track and not at my driving, again, as I said, you're coming off the oval portion. It's not much of an elevation shift, but it is one. Notice how little of the track we can see after the apex. That means that it's not on camber, it's not off camber, it's just there. And in fact, I would actually argue that it's probably hurting you a little bit because it is going downhill slightly. But as we come through here, look how much track we can see here. So this is a little bit of a compression. So we're going to get a little bit of understeer on our way out of the corner. But as we come out of the corner, we're going to get grip right here when we transition off of the banking into the infield section. So even though your front end may push a little bit wide, trust that as you come through and you transition onto the infield, you're going to get that grip back as you compress a little bit. It's not much, but it is a little bit. Ultimately, what we want to do coming out of the corner is we want to be opening our hands to accept the power that we're asking out of the car. So I'm asking 100% power in second gear through here. My hands are opening up. I need to take this left-hander like a carousel, so I need to get down to the curbing and ride the curbing all the way around. It doesn't matter if I run wide out here or I pinch the corner off a little bit. I'm mid-track. At the end of the day, we're going to all treat it like a big carousel, and we're going to ride the grass around. So there's lots of lines coming out of turn one. Some people like taking it really, really deep on exit, so way out here, with the theory of we just came off the longest straightaway. I want to try to extend that as much as possible, so I'm going to brake as late as possible, and I'm going to try to carry a ton of speed through this corner, and then on the exit, I don't really care because we're immediately turning again. Some people like to brake a little earlier with the idea, even though it is a carousel, we want to still treat it like a corner and take it from mid-track. I'm somewhere in between. I don't like being all the way on the left, but I also don't like pinching this first corner off. So somewhere right around here, I'm transitioning from turning right to turning left under full throttle. The key is keep the car balanced. We don't want to make any sudden movements. So one more time through turn one before we talk about this left-hander at turn two. Back it up, back it up, back it up. There we go. So I'm coming in, brake at the 600 board, threshold braking, slowly start working off the throttle, off the throttle, off the throttle, or off the brake, off the brake, off the brake. Turn in, off the brake completely, start accelerating just before apex. unwinding my wheel as I come through the corner. Turn 2, like I said, we're going to try to get down on this curbing relatively quickly. It is an exercise of patience. It always seems to last much longer than you expect. The best way to take turn 2, or the best way to be most prepared for it, is get your eyes up. Don't be staring here at the apex. Be staring around the corner. We want to be looking for the rumble of the right-hander. So as soon as we can kind of see the rumble strip of the upcoming right-hander, we want to start opening our hands and accelerating out of this corner. The corner is too tight to have any meaningful acceleration through it. If we're doing it right, it's basically a lot of coasting. So we're just kind of modulating the accelerator just a little bit to kind of manipulate our line. Remember that if you're turning and you add throttle, what that's going to do is that's going to increase the radius of your turn. If you take throttle off, that's going to tighten your radius. So we're just manipulating our throttle to make sure that we're keeping in line with this long left-hand nature that we can. But as soon as we kind of see this rumble strip on the exit, on corner exit for the right-hander, we should start picking up throttle and opening our hands out of this corner. We're going to grab third gear on the way out, and we'll end up all the way on the curbing on the right. And we're going to treat the right-hander the same way we treated the left-hander, except the right-hander is wider, has a wider radius, so it's faster in general. But again, third gear, coming through this right-hander, it's almost flat. In this heat, you may have to do a little bit of manipulating, especially later on in your stint when the left side tires are starting to get overheated and starting to wear. You may have to come out of it a little bit, but in general, it should be pretty aggressive on the throttle through this point. We can ride this curb, and then with our eyes up, what we're looking for is we're looking for the next exit curb that's going to happen, that's going to lead us into turn 4. What we want to do is we want to kind of keep this radius of this corner, but we want to let the car drift out to this outside corner. This double right-hander is probably the most difficult corner on the track to get right. If you've done any driving here already in these conditions, you'll notice that sometimes it feels like when you drive out to the curbing in between 3 and 4, you end up pushing way too wide and picking up some grass and looping the car. And then sometimes when you don't do that and you let the car go where it is, you're not all the way at the rumble and you're like, man, I could have taken a little bit of a wider entry into 4 and increased my speed. All of these things are true. The car is going to end up where it's going to end up. We don't want to drive to the outside of the corner, but at the same time, we want to maximize the use of the track. We get to the outside curbing on the left because we have the right speed, not because we steered towards it. So coming out of this corner, I've got a lot of throttle in the car. I'm opening up my hands to accept that throttle because the car is absolutely on edge coming through here. And then once I kind of start getting not parallel, but getting pretty darn close to it, about mid-track, I'm going to get on the brakes. And in order to get on the brakes, I have to open my hands. If I have steering angle and get on the brakes, that's going to lead to a lockup because remember, tires don't like to do 2 things at once. They kind of like to do just one thing. So they can do one thing well, or they can do 2 things not well. So I'm opening up my hands to create a brake zone that's straighter than it would be if I kept my steering angle all the way around. So I'm opening my hands to accept the brake that I'm going to give the car. In doing that, the car is driving out to a point out here to set up for turn 4. Once I get the car slowed down, which is in time with me getting to the outside curbing, I am going to get off the brake or start bleeding off the brake, so trailing off. And then as I trail off the brake, I'm going to start tucking the car back in. I'm asking less lateral grip out of the tires, I'm asking less braking force out of the tires, and I want more lateral grip. So as I get off the brake, I can start adding steering to those tires because they have a bigger capacity for that grip. So as I'm coming around here, I'm only at about a 15% brake pedal. I'm using all of the track, so I'm right there at the curbing, and I start tucking it in to turn 4. As I turn into turn 4, I need more and more grip, lateral grip for the turn, so I'm almost completely off the brake at this point. I'm pretty much coasting on into this initial corner. I always feel like I'm early coming into turn 4. I always want to get this car down to this point of the curbing, so very early along the grass line. I want my right side tires to basically be kicking up a little bit of grass to extend the corner as best as I can. So as I turn in, it always understeers, so you always end up apexing much later, but it always feels like I'm turning in too early. I'm in 3rd gear through here, and it's just an exercise of patience. It always feels like this corner just won't end. I've already started picking up throttle, as you can see down here. This is leading up to the second longest straightaway on the track, so we really want to focus on getting a good run coming through turn 4. We ride the curbing a little bit like a carousel, but we should be able to pick up throttle all the way through. So as you can see here, if I back it up a little bit onto my entry, so if you look down here at my telemetry, I'm off the brakes, start adding throttle, start adding throttle, start adding throttle. As I unwind the wheel, then I'm full throttle coming out of the corner. Now, any questions for the first, I'd say, third of the lap? That little sector.
Chris, you did not go much on the curb on the left side. Not safe to brake over there, or was just like on this lap was a reaction of the car?
You can get on this curbing and brake, but I would only do very little. So like your very end of your brake. But remember, I'm doing actually my heaviest portion of my braking right here. So it's not on the curb. If I do brake on the curb, it's this very last little bit, and I've only got like 15%, so not a lot. If I get on the curb, great. It's opened up the corner a little bit more, but I like having a little bit of a safety buffer. If I'm driving all the way out of here on the curb, really onto basically getting my left side tires really close to the grass, if I make any kind of mistake coming in here, or I have a lapse of judgment, I'm going to drop my left side tires into the grass and go out to the wall. So this is a bit of a safety buffer for me. You don't gain much, if anything, by going all the way out here. Maybe a couple hundredths of a second by doing that, but the risk of it is huge with a potentially wrecked car, because you're gonna have no grip if you touch this grass. So it's kind of just risk reward where you want to be. Qualifying lap, and it's your last chance where you just bring the steering wheel home. If you don't succeed, sure, go all the way out there, take it all, get every advantage you can get. But for an hour race, yeah, I'm trying to groove in a little bit of safety margin.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, hearing no other comments on those. Coming out of turn 4, one other thing that I tend to see from folks is they tend to pinch this corner off, and they tend to move the car way over here to the right to set up for the chicane. You really don't have to. I mean, you don't want to be on the left side curbing. That's just, you can't take the chicane from that point. But you can take this chicane from relatively shallow. So if like from here, I'm flat. When I got to flat coming out of turn 4, I am flat all the way to the heavy braking zone at the end of the straightaway. So even from this angle, you can still make this corner. So I'm flat, flat, flat. Little kiss of the dirt. Open the hands. Jump the curbing. So I'm 100% flat through there, and it was drama free. There was no problems whatsoever. So from this point right here, I am effectively flat through to the next heavy braking zone. Check to see where you are getting to full throttle. Wherever you're getting to full throttle, if you're getting to full throttle before this, fantastic, you're doing awesome. If you're delaying your full throttle until here, you try to get a better line or slow the car down a little bit on the entry so that you can get on full throttle and start accelerating sooner. If you are lifting in the chicane, you need a better line, or you need to practice going full throttle through here, maybe wrecking a couple times just to feel what being full throttle through the chicane is like. Remember, you can take all of these curbs, and even this curb, even though it looks pretty nasty, as long as your hands are straight when you hit it, you're fine. If you've got steering angle when you hit it, you're not going to be fine, and you got to come out of the throttle. But so long as your hands are straight, you should be able to be full throttle jumping over this curb like this. So look at my steering wheel right when I hit it. Dead straight. When I land, it stays dead straight, and then it only starts turning on the back end. But even so, I have all of this area on the exit to open my hands and drive straight if I need to. There's a tremendous amount of runoff, and this is not a 1X. You can use this as part of the track. So use it. If you hit that curbing, or you know you're going to hit that curbing, keep your hands straight until the car is completely settled, and then drive it through there. But you have to be flat through that chicane.
What is 1X on the chicane there? I see both tires on it.
Yeah, so this is totally fine. 1X, I believe, on this section is if your right side tires cross this white line, you'll get a 1X. You'll probably get a slowdown, frankly. And then on this one, I think it's if your left side tires go halfway across this curb, you'll get a slowdown 1X. So you can actually take this curb even shallower. The only reason I don't on this particular one is because if you get too far out to the right, the car kind of jumps. And so even though you're full throttle, the car is not putting the power down. It's kind of spinning its wheels. So you actually lose speed because you're in the air as opposed to accelerating because you're in touch with the ground. Not to mention you run the risk of getting the slowdown if you go too far over to the right. But you can take surprisingly a large amount of this curbing with your left tires and still be fine. So like even right here, I'm inside the white line with my left side tires. This is not, I didn't get a 1X for this. If we go to the rules, track rules, let's see what they officially say. Yeah, they said turn 6 on corner apex, the outer edge of the blue white curbing. So they're basically saying that if you put your entire car over this curbing, so like in this area, that will be a slowdown / 1X. But you can get your left side tires, it says, all the way over here and be fine. But you run the risk of you're jumping the car at that point, and it's a rough ride if you're doing that.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, we've got a really long straightaway. This is where lower downforce definitely helps because you can hit a higher speed. And we come to another heavy braking zone. Very similar to turn 1, except we're going left instead of right. And we're not coming off of the oval, so we don't have that little bit of downhill on the entry into this corner. This corner is almost completely flat. In fact, we can't see past the curbing. We can't see any track. So there's no camber that is assisting us through this corner. It is just as flat as a sheet of paper. So we need to make sure we are planning for that. We need to treat it like a traditional corner, maybe a little bit of a touch of a late apex. And the goal is to carry speed and momentum through the first part of the corner while still getting a good rotation and accelerating coming out of the corner. So getting to throttle early. So we don't want to overslow the car, and we want to focus on getting on throttle early coming out of the corner. The brake zone is somewhere between this little access road and the front of the rumble here. I like to brake a little earlier just in general in this car, so you'll see me brake right here, about halfway between the two. Basically, when the rumble gets to full width, that's kind of where I'm braking. If you're saving fuel, you're going to brake even earlier. Sometimes if I'm in a long train of cars, I will lift and coast at the bridge. So I will lift right here and just coast, 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 and then brake somewhere right around here because I'm going slower by the time I hit the brake zone. Play with it, see what feels best for you. But in general, you're usually, if you're going on like a quality run or a hot lap, you're braking probably around here no later than the road. I'd be shocked if you can brake at this. Either that or you're going too slow going in, so you lifted at the chicane when you shouldn't have. But in general, I'd be impressed if you can get to the access road in this car at this heat and still slow it down for the corner. It's threshold braking, so it's hard braking. You may hear the wheels kind of really fighting for grip and sliding just a touch, but overall we need to avoid lockup. I'm turning in at the second access road, so that's my initial turn in, is right here is when I first started turning the wheel. You'll notice that I'm bleeding off, like turn 1, I'm bleeding off the brakes, and right here at apex, I'm off the brakes. I did a really good job on the apex point. I am as close as I can be to the curb without hitting it, which keeps the car nice and flat. As soon as I get to the apex, I am starting to roll on throttle and opening my hands and letting the car track out to where it wants to track out. We don't want to be all the way with our right side tires on the grass because we do need to set up a little bit for the right-hander, but we don't need to be pinching this first corner over here. These next two corners, this right and left-hander, are complete throwaways. The only corner that matters in this next sector of 3 corners is the final corner leading on back onto the oval, the big right-hander. So these are just setup corners for that right-hander. So here, it doesn't matter really where we enter into this corner, just so long as we maintain some semblance of momentum on the way through. So as I've come through, I'm going to move the car to about here, just right of track entry, or mid-track, I should say. And I'm going to turn in, always feels super early. I'm in 3rd gear. I like to keep it in 3rd gear throughout here. So I turn in super early, and the goal is to get my right side tires kissing the grass. Use all the curbing. It's flat. It doesn't upset the car. Get as close to the grass as you can to hold it. And then when you come out of it, when you get to about mid-track, we're going to transition the other way. It's just a little bit of a lift of the throttle. No brake is needed, or maybe a touch depending on just how much speed you carry through the right-hander, but typically no brake is needed. You can just lift and get back on. So lift, I touch the brake just a touch to help get the front end settled. And then ultimately through this left-hander, we want to get up on this curbing, or on the grass. I missed it a little bit on this particular lap, but the best ideal line is like all the way down on the grass and kind of riding it around with a traditional apex point. On the exit, we want to kind of move the car as best we can to the left, but we don't need to be all the way on the left. So don't sacrifice that left-hander for this right-hander because we have to slow down at some point. I was looking at some data from another student who was really pinching this left-hander off to make sure that he got all his left side tires parallel to this grass, right on the grass, to set up this right-hander. And I was killing him on exit speed. I was able to just carry more speed, get up alongside him, and make a move going into this right-hander. So while this right-hander is the most important corner, it's not, you don't want to completely throw away everything. And I know I kind of just contradicted myself a little bit, but ultimately, so long as we're in this position, turning for this right-hander, we should be good. The right-hander is flat like most of the corners on this track. You're not getting any camber help. There is the tendency on this corner is to overdrive on entry, which leads to a lot of understeer, and it's very easy to have the front end wash out and just completely miss the apex here, or overslow the car trying to get it down. The goal is to get the car down, right side tires inside the curbing. So long as we have our left side tires on the white line, you should be good. If you get too aggressive here, you can get a slowdown if you cut too much. So just be aware of that. Normally I like 3rd gear, but on this particular lap, I was a little bit messy coming through this section. I'll show you another lap where it was a little bit better. So I actually dropped it down to 2nd gear because I had to overslow the car to get it down to the apex. I got that understeer that I don't like. So you can actually see my min speed through here is 63 miles an hour. I bet you it's faster on the other lap. We'll check it at the end. On the way out, if we take 2nd gear, we have to be careful with spinning up the rear tires. Too much torque going through the rear tires. If we're in 3rd gear, it's less of a risk. We can use more of our pedal because there's less torque. Ultimately, as we come out, we're going to start opening our hands. The car is going to start dancing on us. It's really going to... We're kind of drifting on the way out, like a little bit of a 4-wheel drift. That's the fast way through here. We don't want to be sliding the car through here. That's slow, and it also overheats the tires. We want to just have this nice little slight slip angle and drift on the way out. So you can see my steering wheel at this point. The car is starting to over-rotate just a touch, so I have a little bit of opposite steering, catch it, and then turn back immediately. If we do it right, we'll end up right here on the edge of the tarmac and on the curbing, left side tires on the curbing, without us driving there. The car ended up there because it had to be there, full throttle. All right, any questions for the middle part of this track from turn 4 through that last turn, that segment? All right, hearing none, let's continue. So we got a good run coming out of the right-hander. Now we're going back onto the oval. This turn is pretty forgetful. It should be dead flat. It is a turn though. We don't want to be taking it mid-track. We want to be apexing at the appropriate spot because shortest distance between 2 points is a direct line, and so we're trying to create as direct a line as we can to the next corner. If we take it all the way out here, we're traveling further distance, which leads to a slower lap time. So get down on the curbing with the right side tires, apex it like a normal corner. Coming onto the oval, we have some interesting dynamics with the way the track's running. So we're coming off very flat track onto a slightly banked track. You can actually see, look how much of the track we can see. So we're going up onto a banking, but as we get up on the banking, it's actually disappearing from us. So it's banked and then it's going away. Where people can get a little bit tricked on this one is you come and you hit that banking thinking you've got banking, but then when you hit the brakes, you are in effectively a flat part of the track. So you don't have a really good ability to brake.
Holy
so
shit.
Keep in mind that you will get a little bit of a bump right here coming onto the banking. It's not too bad. But as soon as we get on the banking, we're going to start thinking about braking. That rhymed. We're braking before the 300 board. There's not really a good point to say this is where you need to hit the brakes here.
All right, boys. We're jumping
for me,
into
it's
this
a rhythm
Indy.
thing. As I come out.
Appreciate you, Chris, for all your help. Yo, we gotta try Indy at Long Beach. They're gonna be there this weekend, so it makes sense, right? Oh, fuck. Alright. Let's get in here. This is gonna be fucking wild. I ain't gonna lie. I needed some practice for this one, but how could I say no? Indy? How much practice do we get? Alright, let's try this. Let's try this out. Let's get in here. Does Indy have push to pass? No, I'm thinking of... Oh, it is push to pass. So what is it? I forgot what the push to pass button is. We'll find out, I guess.
The pit lane speed limit is 40 miles per hour.
That's pit limiter. Holy. Oh, we're sitting kind of high. Let's figure this out real quick. Driver height. Let's go down a little bit. No, we want to be high, right? Not too high.
The pit exit is clear. Push now. Disengage limiter. Please, Patrick.
Yeah. Oh shit, oh shit. Fuck. Idiot, bro. Yo, I need to figure this out really quickly. Cause this is... I didn't see how many people were in this lobby, but this can't be good. Alright, let's make sure we have a push to pass set up. Holy shit, the race is already ready. Ay ay ay. Settings, keybinds, where's push to pass? Push to overtake. We're gonna use... Fuck, I don't know. This one? Push to overtake. Does it have a tear off visor? Just in this car though. This car only. This car only. Fuck, did it save? Alright. Yeah, this is gonna be bad because I didn't practice at all. But it should be fun. We got the whiskey flowing tonight. wanted to see when the GTE race was starting. When was that? I wanted to do that at Daytona. That sounded fun. Let's see. Let's go to officials. Because what else is at Daytona right now? Oh, the Porsche Cup is there. Let's see. Where's the P Cups at, bro? Huh. Road America. That could be fun. Talladega. Where is P Cups? Oh, it's at Long Beach. And it's fixed. So when is this? 11:45. Huh. What the fuck? So where's the next one? Did I miss it? Ferrari. I thought they have one every other hour. And then they'll go back and forth. I guess not, huh? Okay, well, whatever. I should be practicing, but... Nordschleife. Spec Racer Ford. Yeah. GTE. It's a 45-minute race, Daytona. That sounds fun too. I don't know when that's gonna start, but let's get in the session. Oh, of course we missed it. Let's go make sure we have our button set. We gotta have push to pass. Keybinds, push to pass set. Tear off visor. Is that this? Yeah. This car only. Okay. Huh. Alright. Save. Fuck. Let's go quali, I guess. I don't know. I have no, what's it called? No expectations. Is anybody even racing, bro? Am I racing by myself? Hold up. Aw, hell. There's only 2 people in here? How do I figure this? Bro, it's just me? Aw, hell. That sucks. So it's unranked. Alright, well, let's get into something else. That was a waste of fucking time. Huh. Oh. That sucks. Who's playing right now? How about we can join with somebody? Alright, so this is not gonna be fucking another 45 minutes. Alright, so what's coming up now? 8 minutes. Formula C? No. I don't even own Sonoma. Yeah, there's not a lot of people playing right now. What the fuck? At least it doesn't feel that way. Road America. 30 minutes. This could be fun. What are we thinking? Are we gonna try to do let's get in here and see how this car runs around. Let's see. Alright. What car are we looking for? Porsche. Showroom, explore paints. All vehicles. Then we'll go Porsche. Cup. We're gonna do that Manthane or whatever it's called. Manthane. I think that's probably one of the more favorite liveries I've seen that I like. Of a, you know, like a stock team. Huh. Team Redline. Obviously I like the Red Bull one, but everybody's a fucking hater. Yeah, we'll just race this for now. I like this one better than the Gran Turismo one. I don't like the one that has the Gran Turismo. I don't know if I want to wait this long for a fucking race though. We'll see. I'd rather get some fucking sleep, to be honest. Alright, let's see. Let's put this on studio and see. Bro, Armand is fucking taking over my... He's all over my fucking, Huh. Alright. Let's go to the studio. Let's change some shit around.